This just reinforces what we've all felt about the Montreal Canadiens and one specific player and his future with the team, as there's a recent article from senior writer Dan Rosen at NHL.com that dives into Mike Matheson's future, and a couple of the points he brings up, like I said, just reinforces what we've been feeling. We got to dive into the trade possibilities for Mike Matheson and how it's looking more likely than ever. But not just that, the Athletic have done a redraft of the 2022 NHL draft, and the Montreal Canadiens feature quite prominently, but we wish there could have been something a little better. That plus a big Bogdan Konyushkov update as he has signed a contract, but not in Montreal. Not so great news, but we're going to break it all down on this episode of Habs Digest, and we'll start with Bogdan, as the KHL Twitter page officially tweets, Torpedo's time on ice leader and second points leader among defensemen, 22-year-old Bogdan Konyushkov, will stay in Nizhny Novgorod through the 2026-27 season. Now, this extends his current contract by 1 year, turning it into a 2-year contract, so he's got a couple of years left. Jesse, Bogdan is a guy that we love, right? Love, part of the Bogdan Konyushkov fan club, and as Andrew Zadarnowski points out, hey, this will be 4 years now, one by the time he's eligible to come to the NHL, but in comparison, Alexei Emelin stayed in Russia 6 years following his draft. So, not to say all hope is lost with Bogdan, because that absolutely isn't. Actually, there's a precedence for this kind of thing, and you know what, again, to be their time on ice leader, to be relied upon so much for so many people saying how mature he is on the ice, I don't mind him being in the KHL for another year, especially as we're still fleshing out our kind of ever-changing defense situation.
For sure. And you have to feel like Bogdan Konyushkov knows this as well, like how crowded the decor is with Montreal right now. It probably makes sense for him to continue developing in the KHL as much as we'd like to see him come to the AHL a little bit. And we were so excited to have him at Habs development camp. He was just over on this side of pond recently. It was obviously amazing seeing him training a little bit in Brossard here. But you have to feel like by the time he comes and is ready, for Montreal, which I think probably could be next year, he'll probably, Montreal will be a little bit more ready for his services, him as well. Like, he's probably going to be like a young vet by that point, but I really feel like he's going to be able to benefit this team in so many ways. And again, it is important to note he is developing well in the KHL. He is getting his ice time, which has been a concern for some prospects developing over in Russia. Not a problem with Bogdan as a young man. He's had a lot of responsibility put on him at a young age, and he showed he could handle it, being the second best point getter in terms of D-men on his team. Yeah. So again, I feel like this is going to line up nicely for us. We obviously got a couple moving parts still to figure out with our decor as it is, as we're going to get into later on in the episode here, which we feel maybe might create some opportunities for Bogdan in the future.
Yeah, I'm excited to see it. And what I like about this, and I saw the sentiment reflected on a couple places in social media, it's such a good feeling to have a fairly promising young defensive prospect and not feel any need to rush him over here, because we have such a good situation as is right now. Like, I'm totally okay with this. I don't mind him developing. The dude was the captain of his team last year, the year before this year, of course, and he was putting up solid points. Still the time on ice leader, put out in all of the toughest situations. Like, hey, let him keep doing that. He's probably not going to get the chance to do that over here, so it's going to be great for his development. Leave your thoughts on Bogdan down below, but we're going to move on to some other prospects, Jesse, as Scott Wheeler has done his 2022 redraft at The Athletic. But hey, before we get into that, a quick reminder to hit that free subscribe button. If you're enjoying this video, we have videos coming every day, all off season long. Your home for all the latest Habs news is right here. News comes out, we're here to cover it. So if you're enjoying, hit that free button. But let's get into this redraft. And look at this. Logan Cooley, Lane Hutson, they lead Scott Wheeler's do-over. And yes, spoiler, Logan Cooley goes number 1 in this new redraft. And before we get into Hutson and Slav and what he had to say about him, Jesse, I understand his reasoning for Logan Cooley. And he does say, look, Hutson could have been number 1. I would still take probably both Slav and Hutson over Cooley. Is that biased? Maybe. I understand Cooley just had a 65-point, 25-goal season in 75 games. He plays a lot of center, has played some 1C for the team, but I don't know. I think I still take our boys over him, and I think we'll dive into the stuff in just a second. But, as much as I wish our guys could have been higher, I understand the reasoning, but I'm still taking our boys.
For sure. And the fact that we got the top 2 out of the top 3 players in this draft just really goes to show what a heist it was. I think there's some key reasons as well of why we selected these players, and we'll definitely get into that in just like one moment here. Like, I'm not afraid to say it, I'm having Hutson number 1, I'm having Slafkovsky number 2, and then I'm having Cooley number 3. For sure, Cooley has Slav beat in terms of points per game. While it's a little bit of a smaller sample size, it's easier to kind of stack that in. Cooley's at the 0.69 points per game. Our boy Slav is at the 0.56 point per game. That being said, like we know that Slaf brings like that full, like 200-foot game to the table every single day, right? It's going to be starting on time. I think that this year is going to be that revolution. Like if this is the amount of production with just second half Slaf, imagine bringing a full year. Like he's going to outpace Guhle not only in terms of production, I feel this upcoming year, mark our words on that, but also in terms of just playing that 200-foot game, playing that physical game. Like when we get into the playoffs, there's going to be a certain time where we realize, okay, we're happy that we had Juraj Slafkovsky over Guhle. Hutson, it was hard to see coming, although we were pretty big on him ahead of time. Again, like if we're judging kind of apples to apples here with Slaf and Guhle, like just the way, I feel like Slaf is just a guy that you win with. And there's going to be a certain point once that playoffs come that we are just so thankful that we're able to tame Slavzilla, have them come onto our side here and really help the Montreal Canadiens for just years to come.
Yeah, exactly. And it kind of goes into what he's saying. He's like, look, when I included Slafkovsky in my players I was wrong about last year, he said, when I look back at where I was on Slav pre-draft and actually read over the report, I think it, one, had the player from a makeup skills perspective accurately scouted, and two, was quite measured in its analysis and projection. And you don't rank a player in the top 5 and in the end, in the top tier of a draft class if you don't see serious upside. And that's the thing with Slav. Like, he's taken a little longer to develop, I suppose, but he's 21 years, 116 days old. Logan Guhle, there's like 35 days difference between them, but Slav is still learning, right? Like, he's still learning to use his body. This last season was really the first time we saw him actually use it properly throughout a full season, and again, the production only came throughout half a season. I think Logan Guhle is awesome, but, you know, I like you said, I think come playoff time, you want that kind of guy. I think Slav is going to have him beat within the next couple of years, I think, in terms of impact, but also Hutson, like, yeah, I think, like, even he says here, you know, what do you take? Bet more, like a good but not superstar first-line center or an elite offensive defenseman? He said there's a case either way. Regardless, like you said, we got 2 of the top 3 players in this draft. Slav is going to be amazing for the reasons you outlined, the reasons Scott Wheeler mentioned. Logan Cooley is going to be amazing too, but like, hey, even Owen Beck, an honorable mention, just being outside the first round still. Now, he was picked, you know, 33rd overall, so like, you know, fair enough, but yeah, I think he could have even been higher. But leave us your thoughts on all that down below. Slav, Hutson, would you have them both over Logan Cooley? We'd love to hear from you. But there's one player that I know a lot of people, it's more of a controversial player, right? And I know there's been a lot of controversy around that draft, but we're going to a specific player that has a lot of controversy, and that's our boy Mike Matheson. And look, we know this season was not great. 31 points in 80 games after having a 62-point season, and then on pace for a 58-point season just the year before, where he was by injury there in 22-23. But there was an article from Dan Rosen at NHL.com, Jesse, and I want to dive into some of the stuff he said because it kind of starts to reinforce what we've been thinking, right? Again, when you look at the decor, when you look at the future of this team's contracts, there's a lot of money to be owed. And he said Hutson needs a new contract after this season if he builds on his Calder winning season, and it'll be a mega deal. And we don't know when that's coming, but hey, it'll probably come sometime during this year. It might not be this summer. And then you also got you got Noah Thompson at 9.5. In all likelihood, those two guys are going to combine for $20 million plus per season. Plus, you have Ivan Demidov that you have to sign very soon. So when you're looking at Matheson, Jesse, yeah, it's under $5 million, but in the long term, can you really justify him being part of your top 6 group here? He said they could make room, but they'll have to weigh a lot of factors, including perhaps, most importantly, how he's playing. And I know I have my opinion on this, Jesse, and where I see this going, but like, I know Dan also said, look, you can also sign Mike Matheson. I definitely get it. You know, it's not like he's saying you have to trade him. But when you outline all the contracts like that, who we have to pay, what our decor looks like with and without him, I think it just reinforces what we've been thinking. And it's like, I don't see a world where he is not traded. Something we said before, but I don't see a world where he sticks around. And I kind of don't like to say that because I know our front office really, really likes him.
It's true, but it was hard to predict like just how good Lane Hutson would be. You kind of had plans A, B, and C, but when Lane Hutson just ends up being that good, obviously you kind of need to revise how we're planning to really plan out this decor here. Obviously with Dobson too, like besides Hutson, like that arrival of Dobson pretty much just put like, I don't want to say the final nail in the coffin because we appreciate Mike Matheson. It just, in terms of like him playing here in Montreal, it just seems like stylistically a little bit of an overlap there. Josh, I'm predicting a trade before the beginning of the season. Obviously at the latest at the trade deadline, but I think there's a very high likelihood that before this season begins, if not those first kind of couple of weeks in, once teams start to really kind of GMs start to reevaluate their teams, I could see some early movement from Mike Matheson here. Again, because you have to feel like it's not just Dobson, it's not just Hutson, but you have to think of guys like Reinbacher as well that we brought in. And you have to feel like the top 4 for the Habs in the future is Hutson, Reinbacher, and then we got Guhle and then
Dobson,
Dobson
yeah.
on the right. Like, like it only really, and again, Matheson, he's just really more effective in that top four. He can be a really good offensive defenseman. He'd be getting a lot more than 31 points last year if there isn't a certain guy named Lane Hutson on this team. So I think it's not only a situation that where we could get a lot more benefit, out of Mike Matheson in terms of value, but also his play style and probably, being as effective. Like, this is a guy that he takes his health and fitness so seriously. He's a competitor. He wants to be out there on the ice. And I feel at a certain time, the Montreal Canadiens, for the right situation, will feel that it's the best for him and probably for this team going forward as they're taking that next generation, because we know it's a young core right now, but again, they're with guys like Guhle, again, like Dobson, we're going to have enough experience where I think they're going to be ready very soon to really take full reins of this defensive core of this team.
Yeah, exactly. And like, I understand like the front office maybe wanting to keep him around, but you're right. Like this kind of bottom pairing role is not something he's necessarily suited to. Like, he could do it. I'm not saying he couldn't, especially if it was like a super low cap hit and you're getting a player of Matheson's caliber who can eat well over 20 minutes at like, I don't know, like a $3 million cap hit. And like, it's hard to say no to that, but at the same time, I'm of two minds. Like, if Matheson is playing amazing this season and he's on like a 50-point pace again, and it's like, wow, okay, my gosh, and his defense is short up and he's still playing PK, you're like, wow, then he's going to get a haul at the trade deadline for an expiring contract, right? Like, he is going to, you can get a lot for him, especially if you retain on his already small contract. Okay, so in that situation, he's probably moved. If he's not playing very well this season, he just continues his decline after last season, why would you extend him? So like, like at this point, it's like, if he plays too good, he'll probably fetch too much at the deadline. If he's not playing good enough, he's probably not going to get an extension. I just don't see a world where he sticks around. And again, you guys know, I actually like Mike Matheson, unlike I think a lot of Habs fans, and that's okay. I don't mind that, but we got to hear from you guys. What do you think about this? Do you think this reinforcement we've been saying about Matheson, is he almost certainly gone? We'd love to hear from you, but that'll do it for this episode of Habs Digest. Find the link for that NHL.com article down below, and The Athletic, all that stuff, as always. And if you enjoyed, leave a like, but most importantly, subscribe to the channel. Thank you for tuning in every single day. I'm Josh Gosse, my co-host, Jesse Poirier. We'll catch you in the next one.